The Su-57E, Russia's export variant of its fifth-generation stealth fighter, continues to face several fundamental and evolving disadvantages that impact its appeal for India. One of the primary concerns is the very slow and uncertain production rate. As of 2025, Russia has produced fewer than 20 Su-57 airframes for its own air force, with even fewer in a fully combat-ready state. The export model, the Su-57E, has not entered serial production at scale. This means India would face significant delays in delivery even if it signed a contract today. Russia has indicated plans to increase production to around 20 jets per year by 2028, but there is widespread skepticism over whether these targets are realistic given current resource constraints. The impact of Western sanctions on Russia's defense sector is another serious issue. Since the war in Ukraine began, Russia has struggled to source critical components like advanced semiconductors, composite materials, and precision manufacturing equipment. These are essential for building the Su-57's radar, mission computers, electronic warfare systems, and even its flight control software. Russia has attempted to replace these systems with domestic or alternative components, but the result is that many Su-57 units have been delivered in incomplete configurations or with downgraded systems. For India, this raises red flags about the long-term sustainability and performance of any Su-57E it receives. Additionally, delays in engine development mean that many Su-57s still use the older AL-41F1 engines rather than the more advanced ISDAL A-30 engines that were intended for true fifth-generation performance. The Su-57E's stealth characteristics are also inferior compared to Western fifth-generation aircraft. While it does incorporate some radar-reducing design features like internal weapons bays and stealth shaping, its radar cross-section is noticeably larger, particularly from the sides and rear. The use of exposed engine nozzles and limited infrared suppression make it more vulnerable to detection by both ground-based radar and infrared search and track systems. This limits its effectiveness in penetrating heavily defended airspace, a key mission expected of a fifth-generation fighter. In terms of avionics and cockpit systems, the Su-57E is still considered behind Western standards. Its sensor fusion capabilities are not as advanced as those found in the F-35 or even some modern 4.5-generation fighters. Russian systems tend to emphasize raw performance over integration and pilot usability. The Su-57E may also face challenges in aligning with Indian network-centric warfare doctrines, which rely on digital interoperability between platforms such as AWACS, Tejas, Rafale, and naval assets. Russia has offered India unprecedented access to the Su-57E's software architecture and the option to integrate Indian-made weapons, sensors, and mission computers. While this sounds promising, such customization carries significant risk. These systems were not originally designed to work together, and extensive modification would likely be required. This adds years of development, testing, and integration work, delaying operational readiness and increasing costs. HAL and DRDO would bear much of this burden, potentially straining capacity already committed to the Tejas Mk1A, Mk2, and AMCA programs. There's also the serious strategic risk of U.S. secondary sanctions under CAATSA, countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act. India has already faced difficulties executing past Russian defense contracts due to payment channel disruptions. With a major deal like the Su-57E, India would almost certainly trigger geopolitical fallout, potentially affecting its access to U.S. defense systems, spares, and critical technologies. Even joint ventures like GEHAL for fighter engines could come under scrutiny if India moves forward with a major Russian stealth fighter acquisition. Another problem is that the Su-57E lacks a global user base. Aside from reports that Algeria has ordered a small number of units, no other country has firmly committed to the Su-57E. This leaves India with little external support for logistics, upgrades, or shared training and operational doctrines. If issues arise, whether in software, hardware, or performance, India would be mostly on its own. This contrasts sharply with Western aircraft like the F-35, which benefits from a broad international support network and consistent updates through allied collaboration. Finally, investing in the Su-57E could undermine India's own fifth-generation fighter ambitions, specifically the AMCA program. AMCA is already planned as the centerpiece of India's future air power, with development timelines aiming for a first flight before the end of the decade. Committing to the Su-57E now would divert funding, manpower, and political attention away from this indigenous project, potentially delaying or diluting its development. While some retired IAF officers argue the Su-57E could serve as a stopgap until AMCA is ready, others warn that such a parallel investment could become a long-term dependency, weakening India's drive towards self-reliance in defense technology. The Su-57E suffers from slow production, supply chain instability due to sanctions, immature stealth and avionics systems, limited operational history, geopolitical risks, integration challenges, lack of international support, and the possibility of undermining India's indigenous defense efforts. While it may offer some short-term benefits if deeply customized, the risks and disadvantages far outweigh the potential gains under current circumstances.